You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
Hey guys, I'm usually coming in hot, but today I think I need to come in real. My 13-year-old national group travel company was pretty much close to shutting down. I've somehow turned a negative into a positive, but it took about a week straight worth of strategy since all this has gone down. My team and I put together an 11 series best of episode, which I call Coping with COVID in Business and Life. Business owners and employees are going through dire times right now. They're losing their jobs and shutting down their business. I know it firsthand because I recently had to let go of the majority of my employees. A 13-year-old company broken down in a matter of days. I'll rebuild it and I'll make it better and I'll make it stronger. And I want to make all of you just as optimistic as I am. So in a world of nothing but negative news and drama right now, and being forced to do nothing but take in all of this terrible content on the news, my team and I focused all of our attention to bring you the stories of how others have overcome rock bottom, to show you that with great obstacles and challenges come great opportunities. This special series is the collection of the answers of my guest of one of the most powerful questions that I ask day in and day out, 7 days per week on my show. That question is simple. Give me a time where you've hit rock bottom and were able to overcome that disaster. Listen to these stories. Realize that it's a part of the journey and understand that you are not alone. And rolling up your sleeves is nothing new to you. Listen, learn, and get to work. You got this, Life Nation. Now go get it done.
Well, I hit rock bottom when I changed my business.
Sure. I saw that transition go there and I took it.
Yep. But I've grown it. I have grown it considerably since then. I don't want to focus on rock bottom. So the one thing that we have done, which goes totally against everything that anyone would advise you to do, is we created a digital magazine called Manufacturing Marketing Magazine. And so we're going on our second year now, and that has been a huge learning experience. It's also been very exciting. And that's something I was hoping we could talk about today.
I worked at a company called Polar Polls, and we got acquired by Google. And I built that company with a few friends. And Jerry Yang gave us some money. It was a polling app. And so what I did is I married those polls with all these news publications, and it started growing 40 million page views per month on it at the time when we got acquired. And I really wanted to create this app that I run now, the software platform for PR. And I didn't have money. I didn't have time or anything like that. And when the acquisition was going through, the deal was like, listen, you sign on for 4 years, you got to stay on and do this thing. And I was like, and I'm about to have my first kid. I was like, I can't, this is not my life's dream, but financially it makes sense. And so I just said no. And I walked away way before the negotiations even started. So I didn't take any of the credit for a lot of the work I did. And I wrote this case study, and I wrote this big case study on how I did it, and it kind of backfired. People didn't like that I wrote that because I walked away from the team and everything. And I was trying to start my own app, and it just wasn't more I have a computer science degree, so I was trying to code it up. But A, I had no money. I'd walked away from this acquisition. B, people were a little not angry at me, but just weren't very warm with me because I had walked away, and I wrote this article about how I did PR for them. And just see, I just had no skills on building the business, building the site, doing the design. I could code it up, and I was trying to charge people right away, and I had a baby coming, and I had to earn money, and I was just struggling. I had to get a consulting gig. Sure. And it was one of the toughest decisions I've had made, go the solo route 6 years ago.
Hey guys, Michael Olivas here. I've cut my coaching rates nearly in half, and I've added some time to my daily calendar to help you, our listeners, with your business in this time of need. If you were let go, or if you finally feel in the midst of all this, You've been motivated to finally start your own company? Let's talk about my affordable startup advising package that will give you from idea to revenues fast. If you are trying to simply keep your company alive after this terrible epidemic, I will give you some great valuable tactics on how I did it, on how to not just let employees go or shut down shop. Let me help you keep your businesses alive and thriving. I can't help everyone, but you won't know if I can help you or not until you schedule a quick 20-minute call at michaellevis.com/coaching. My rock bottom, I think, overall has been going through legal battles. I probably had at least a dozen, at this point, probably at least a dozen litigation cases, whether it be against the company and or where another company goes against me personally because I own the businesses. And so the short of it is that the way I've been able to get over that, because those are the kind of calls you don't like to have. Those are the kind of things that you don't like to have on your mind when you're running a company. And unfortunately, and it's a sad truth when you kind of hear a lot of people say not if, but when, it's kind of part of the growing pains. Understanding I tell people sometimes I feel like I'm a certified paralegal at this point because I get business litigation. I understand what to sign and what not to sign, what to send to attorneys and what to also negotiate in contractual law. And it's something that is a learning process. And it's something really important as an entrepreneur out there. If you're listening and you haven't been sued and or haven't had to sue somebody yet, awesome. Do your best to keep it that way, obviously, and just play your cards right, but just be overly anal when it comes to, I think, agreements and making sure that you are working with the right people and that you have the right things in place in terms of language. But the way I've been able to overcome those objections in my entrepreneurship journey is I don't think I overcame them outside of just going straight through them and learning how to take the bullets versus dodge them. You start learning more and more that the stress factor of being an entrepreneur isn't something that goes away, but it's something that gets a little bit easier and easier because your mindset becomes like, I think your brain creates that callous shell around knowing that it's going to happen. And you're just like, pick up the phone and call part of your team or your legal team or whatever it has to do to kind of start taking care of it. And you just baby step your way into hopefully some kind of mitigation where you settle. But I would say my rock bottom, it was, definitely not rock bottom, but just my worst case scenarios have always been how to be the legal route. It's no fun, but it's something that is a part of the game, and you kind of start learning the processes through it. Another thing that I think was a unique factor about the sacrifices that I've had to make to become successful in entrepreneurship was, moving home at the age of 30. And that was, not that cool for the chicks. I don't think they really liked it that much when I'm going to the bars and they're like, oh, where do you live? And I was like, I'm at home with mom and dad. Right. That probably wasn't that cool, but I also realized that was the sacrifice that I had to make. And, my mom and dad will probably tell you to this day that they never saw me. I was in their extra bedroom, which I turned into my P90X also platform of just jumping up and down, and they can hear me up there. But then also, I was getting a ton of work done, and I created a Vegas events and several Vegas events. And at that point, I think 5,000 travelers went to Vegas. 14 months later, I was back in Orange County, Newport Beach, where I lived for the past 12 years. So, those sacrifices, something unique and something that was kind of rock bottom and something that was realization to me that I had to make sure that I started kicking some ass and doing something that I really truly believed in, which is my event planning company team and group travel technology business that's evolved into that.
Back when I first started being an entrepreneur, I quit my full-time job and I went to consult for one company. So I was basically almost working as like a full-time consultant for them. But then after about 6 months, I realized, what happens if this client goes away, right? Like, this is one client. I don't have any backups. I don't have any, any other revenue sources at this point. So that's when I first started thinking about, like, I need to create an agency. I can't sustain on working for just one client. And eventually, of course, that one client went away, just churn and, churning when it comes to agencies. So I had, so it took me about a year to kind of, grow the business to the point where I could sustain it without, and have the ability to lose that client without, closing doors basically for my business.
Right after my divorce, it was really hard time. I mean, I left with not even $1 in my pocket and 2 kids to take care of. And I just, at the time, I was like, how am I gonna, survive as a woman? And not only that, how can I take care of my kids and how can I put a roof on top of their head? Excuse me, my apologies.
It's okay.
I forgot to put that off. Yes. And that was really a hard time. But then, and I was not like a marketer or anything, but what I did not know then, but I know now, is that when I went out to ask for work, I connected my why or the cause to why I'm doing it, and then people connected with that and they felt like they were going to help me. So I would say, can you help me, whether it's buy or sell a property? It's because I'm now on my own and I need to take care of my 2 kids. And then this way I actually realized that I differentiated myself. People connected that they were helping me by me helping them. And I just became unstoppable. That's another thing too, is that at the time I had a huge motivation, which is taking care of my kids. Little did I know that when I left that marriage, didn't have $1 to my pocket, 4.5 years later, I ended up buying a property, paying the full mortgage, and had 9 other properties 4.5 years later.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.